In the world of cinema, mirrors are never just decoration. They're portals reflecting characters, distorting truths, or concealing things audiences were never supposed to notice. In some films, however, what appears in the mirror doesn't match what's in the room, and what's missing in the reflection might be more terrifying than what's visible. We've seen mirrors used to double characters, reveal hidden figures, and heighten unease, but in these 15 films, the mirror seems to operate by its own rules, displaying images that defy the logic of the scene, reflections that anticipate movement, faces that shift slightly, independently, or worse, presences that simply don't belong. Stranger still, many of these moments exist in only one cut of the film, sometimes in early theatrical prints, sometimes in obscure versions no longer officially available. Later releases, the mirror glitches are gone. No announcements, no behind-the-scenes explanations, just quiet, unspoken removal. It raises a disturbing question. Were these incidents accidental camera errors, or deliberate insertions left for only the most attentive viewer? And if intentional, what were we meant to feel when we saw something in the mirror that wasn't filmed? Because in cinema, a mirror should mirror. But when it doesn't, it rewrites the rules of reality. The moment you begin to question what the reflection is showing, the film stops being fiction and starts becoming something else entirely. Tonight, we'll explore 15 chilling examples where the mirror in a movie didn't reflect the truth, where something slipped into the frame, stayed there long enough to unsettle, and vanished without explanation. Look closely. You may never look into a mirror the same way again. Hasson, Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, 1992. The mirror didn't reveal a monster, it told the truth. David Lynch's prequel to Twin Peaks is a descent into trauma and the unseen forces that feed it. In one of its most chilling moments, the bathroom mirror becomes the only character willing to say what the rest of the film won't. Laura Palmer looks into the glass. Behind her stands her father, but the reflection doesn't lie. It shows B.O.B., leering, real, unavoidable. There's no camera trick, no warning, just a cut that lets the mirror do what it's meant to, show what's really there. The horror isn't in the reflection, it's in what it confirms. And in that moment, the mirror doesn't glitch, it doesn't delay, it simply refuses to protect us. It tells the truth, even when no one else will. Va anihilación vatisoch osemnaist. What if the mirror doesn't reflect you, but reinterprets you? Annihilation plays with distortion at every level: biology, memory, space. The shimmer doesn't just warp the environment, it breaks down identity. And the mirror, in this world, isn't just deceptive, it's transformative. In a brief but unforgettable sequence, Lena examines herself in a mirror, but the angles don't quite work. Her reflection moves too smoothly, its proportions feel off, and as she walks forward, there's a slight lag, like a delayed rendering of who she is. Viewers who've rewatched the scene frame by frame report seeing strange warping in the mirror's depth. Nothing overt, just enough to register as wrong. Was the mirror showing Lena as she is, or as the shimmer was rewriting her? When identity is in flux, the mirror becomes a painter, not a reporter. #3. Stoker, 2013. When your reflection acts on its own, it may be revealing something you've buried. Park Chan-wook's Stoker is a film steeped in repression. Every gesture, every glance is loaded with tension. Mirrors abound, tracking India's transformation from uncertain daughter to something colder, something darker. In a quiet moment at her vanity, India brushes her hair. The room is silent. She stares forward, but her reflection doesn't wait. It moves first, slightly, delicately, a glance, a twitch of the mouth, a near smile that never reaches her face. The moment is quick, no music cue, no camera emphasis, but it's deeply unsettling. The reflection isn't following, it's suggesting. Was it a symbolic choice? A subtle bit of blocking? Or did the mirror show us a version of India the narrative hadn't caught up with yet? Because sometimes, who you become shows up in the mirror before you do. #4. Enemy, 2013. A reflection that shouldn't exist is often the most honest. Denis Villeneuve's Enemy is an exercise in identity collapse. One man, two lives, and the spaces between them. In a single, haunting mirror shot, that fragile structure fractures completely. A character walks past a mirror, his back to the camera, but the reflection shows his face, still, expressionless, unblinking, watching forward. The effect is never explained, not referenced. It lasts only a moment, but it burns itself into the viewer's mind. Was it a surreal flourish, a production oversight, or was the mirror offering the truth the narrative refused to admit? And if the reflection isn't you, then who is? 5. Poltergeist 1982. When the mirror delays, the film blinks. In Poltergeist, supernatural chaos erupts through televisions, furniture, and walls. But one of the most unsettling moments is nearly invisible, hidden in a brief glance at a bathroom mirror. Steve Freeling, exhausted, washes his face. As he looks up, his reflection seems late, barely, but noticeably out of sync. His movement and mirrored motion miss alignment by a heartbeat. There are no visual effects in the scene, no edits, just a raw, practical shot and a result that feels subtly cursed. The shot has never been officially addressed. Some prints seem to fix the issue, others preserve it. Which version is the real one? And if the mirror lags behind you, what part of you is it waiting for? #6. It Follows, 2014. The real terror isn't what's chasing you, it's what gets there first in the mirror. David Robert Mitchell's It Follows delivers horror through inevitability. There's no rush, no chaos, just a slow, relentless force, always moving forward. But in one key moment, the mirror seems to sense the threat before the character does. Jay stands alone, facing her reflection. Her body is tense, her breath shallow, but in the mirror, something doesn't align. Her reflection turns its head a split second early, as if hearing something she hasn't, and then it freezes unnaturally still. Some viewers dismissed it as minor misdirection. Others saw it as symbolic of possession or paranoia. But for those who know It Follows, everything is intentional. So what does it mean when the mirror reacts before the person? Did the curse already enter her? Or was it looking out from within? #7. Coherence, 2013. Sometimes, the mirror doesn't delay, it disagrees. In Coherence, reality itself begins to fracture, as a group of friends realize they're no longer in the same version of the world. Subtle cues mark the difference: mismatched items, altered behaviors, and one moment in a mirror. M enters a room dimly lit by a single bulb. She glances toward a mirror, but what she sees doesn't quite match. Her head is tilted slightly, but her reflection doesn't mirror the angle. When she turns, it continues to face her, just a breath too long. The scene is shot simply, no digital interference, no flashy signals, but its impact is profound. The mirror doesn't confirm her presence, it questions it. Is the reflection showing the version of her that belongs in this world, or the one that's been watching all along? #8. The Shining, 1980. When a mirror misaligns in a Kubrick film, it's not by accident. Stanley Kubrick's obsession with symmetry and control makes every frame in The Shining feel like a puzzle piece. So when something doesn't match, it's intentional. And nowhere is that more evident than in the infamous red bathroom scene. As Jack converses with Grady, their reflections are visible yet inconsistent. Mouths move out of sync. Eye contact seems disjointed. The mirrored geometry bends in a way that subtly destabilizes the viewer. There's no documentation of this being a mistake. And in a Kubrick film, mistakes rarely survive post-production. That leaves one option. The mirror is lying to us, not just reflecting space, but distorting meaning. If the hotel is manipulating reality, maybe the mirror is simply the first surface to break. #9. Hereditary, 2018. Not all mirrors reflect the present. Some show what's already been decided. Hereditary is a slow descent into dread, its horror less about jumps and more about inevitability. But within its composed chaos, one mirror shot remains deeply unsettling for reasons viewers can't fully explain. Peter, alone in his bedroom, stands before a mirror. At first glance, it seems mundane, but those who freeze the frame will notice the reflection feels unnatural. His face is expressionless, but the mirrored version appears more rigid. Still, it doesn't blink, and just as he turns, the reflection lingers just long enough to be noticed. What makes this more chilling is that it wasn't digitally altered. No mention of effects, no visual trick confirmed by the filmmakers. It's just there, silent and unnerving. Was this a visual representation of his possession? Or something watching through the glass, imitating him imperfectly? 10. Fight Club, 1999. Reflections don't lie, unless they're part of the lie. David Fincher's Fight Club toys with duality from the start. The film is about fractured identity, hidden personas, and buried truths. So when the mirror slips, it's not just symbolic, it's prophetic. In one hotel bathroom scene, the narrator confronts himself in the mirror. Tyler stands behind him, close, uncomfortably close, but the reflection doesn't align. In one frame, both men appear side by side, but the mirror's angle should only allow one. In another, Tyler's movement doesn't match what should be reflected. Fincher has said little about the specifics, but the more you study the scene, the more intentional it seems. The the mirror is trying to confess. To tell you what the narrator isn't ready to hear, sometimes the truth hides in the reflection because the frame won't allow it anywhere else. 11. Candyman, 1992. Before the legend was summoned, the mirror was already awake. In Candyman, the mythology is built around mirrors call his name 5 times, and he appears. But there's a lesser-known moment well before the ritual begins that might suggest something had already taken root. In an early bathroom scene, Helen briefly glances toward the mirror, but something is wrong. Her mirrored self appears just a beat off, blinking with the opposite eye, shifting before she moves. It happens quickly, with no emphasis from the cinematography. Many dismissed it as a continuity issue, but as frame-by-frame analysis became easier, fans noticed the pattern. Her reflection wasn't always synced, and in one release, it even seems to react independently. Could it be that the mirror was never a tool, but a gate that had already opened? Hasson 2. The Others, 2001. When the mirror hesitates, so does your sense of reality. Alejandro Amenabar's The Others is a masterclass in restrained horror, where the fear lies, not in what's seen, but in what's almost seen. One scene in particular has puzzled viewers who pay close attention to timing, rhythm, and reflection. As Grace walks through a dimly lit hallway, she passes a large antique mirror. Her body continues in motion, but her reflection, for the briefest instant, stutters. It's a subtle slip, easy to miss unless you're looking for it. A momentary lag, then it's gone. What fuels the mystery is that this mirrored hesitation is not consistent across all versions. It appears only in certain European pressings. Other copies have it smoothed out, erased without mention. No restoration logs, no editorial notes. If the mirror reflects both image and soul, what happens when the reflection falls behind? 13. Black Swan 2010. When the mirror smiles before you do, something has changed. Black Swan dives deep into psychological fragmentation, and mirrors are central to its aesthetic. They track Nina's breakdown, showing cracks in her self-image both figuratively and literally. In a scene where Nina applies makeup before a performance, her reflection subtly deviates. The smirk appears in the glass a fraction of a second early, almost imperceptible unless you're looking. The real Nina follows, but the reflection moves first. What's more unnerving is that the moment isn't enhanced by sound or framing. It just happens, without fanfare. Quiet, wrong, and unforgettable. Was it a glitch in filming? Or a deliberate signal that the reflection has begun to operate independently? And if the mirror's no longer mirroring, who's really watching whom? El poter san oculus, 2011. This mirror didn't just reflect, it remembered. In Oculus, the entire plot revolves around a cursed object, a mirror that distorts memory and warps reality. It's designed to disorient, to trap characters in loops they can't escape. But one particular shot blurs the boundary between storytelling and something more unsettling. During a direct confrontation with the mirror, the siblings' reflections behave strangely. There's a barely perceptible delay in motion, as if the reflections hesitate or resist mirroring reality. What's more, the background behind the glass shifts slightly, just enough to cause a visual unease. Was this digital manipulation or an on-set practical effect? The filmmakers have never confirmed, but some viewers swear the delay wasn't there during the initial theatrical run. Could it be that the mirror was already working on the audience too? Hasson 5. The Sixth Sense, 1999. The ghost wasn't just behind him, it flickered in the glass. When The Sixth Sense premiered, audiences were captivated by its emotional depth and haunting twist. But amid the film's controlled storytelling, a small visual detail has sparked quiet obsession. In one hallway scene, young Cole stops and looks into a mirror. For a moment, his reflection seems unremarkable. But if you examine the frame closely, you'll notice a brief disturbance. A shadowy figure slips behind him in the glass, though no one crosses the scene. It happens in silence, with no cue from the soundtrack. No one in the film reacts. Oddly, some later versions of the film, particularly on DVD and Blu-ray, don't include the anomaly. The image has been corrected or altered. No official comment explains its presence or disappearance. Was it a crew member's mistake that later got erased? Or was it something only the mirror could catch? Bonus fact, Eyes Without a Face, 1960. Some reflections aren't errors. They're whispers from lost versions of the film. Georges Franju's Eyes Without a Face is a haunting piece of poetic horror. remembered for its dreamlike tone and unflinching gaze into human obsession. But somewhere in the grain of an old European film print, a single shot almost mythical refuses to disappear. In one rarely seen version, Christiane glides silently down a hallway, passing a grand mirror. Her pale mask catches the light, but the reflection doesn't mirror her movement. Instead, it shows a figure black-suited, still, featureless, standing several feet behind her, not part of the frame, not part of the story. The figure isn't acknowledged, it doesn't move. In restored versions, it's gone altogether. Film archivists have debated its existence for decades. Some claim it was a production assistant caught in frame. Others insist it was a ghost image from damaged celluloid. But a few believe something made its way into the film, a presence that was seen but never filmed. When the reel turns to dust and the frame is lost, what happens to the reflection left behind? We rarely question our reflection. We assume it's obedient, an echo of the real. But these films ask something more dangerous. What if the mirror reflects not what's there, but what's trying to come through? The moments we've explored weren't grand visual effects or jump scares. They were subtle fractures, quiet interruptions in the contract between audience and screen, a glance out of sync, a smile that appears too soon, a figure that no one on set remembers. In these 15 films, the mirror didn't malfunction, it revealed. And sometimes, what it revealed was truer, darker than the story allowed. So ask yourself, which of these moments felt like a glitch, and which felt like a warning? And when you next pause a film on a mirror scene, look again, not at the actor, but at what's behind them. If this kind of cinematic archaeology speaks to you, subscribe to Darkroom Cinema. Like the video, leave a comment, and tell us which reflection disturbed you the most. Because sometimes what the camera captures isn't all that's being shown.